Blake, pick a man, bring your kit.
I hoped today might be a good day. Hope is a dangerous thing.
You have a brother in the 2nd Battalion.
Yes, sir.
They're walking into a trap. Your orders are to deliver a message, calling off tomorrow morning's attack. If you fail, it will be a massacre.
Let's talk about this for a minute.
Why?
We've got orders to cross here.
That is the German front line.
If we're not clever about this, no one will get to your brother.
I will.
I just want to say this film was phenomenal. Like,
thank you.
I'm not usually a fan of war movies because I think that sometimes that they can get, they can feel a little slow or they can get lost in the chaos, but that was not the case with this one. Like, immediately you're enthralled, and I was just holding my breath the entire time. I was just very captivated.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah. What do you say is the key to captivating an audience with a film like this?
Gosh, I think it's different depending on whatever movie you have. I mean, I think what you said about war movies is true. You know, it's very difficult to make a non-macho war movie. It's not a conventional war movie, this. Mm-hmm. It's not a combat film. There's not a great deal of bloodshed. Yeah. Behaves more like a kind of thriller at times.
Yeah.
And for me, the big challenge was dropping us down with these two guys two young actors you've not really encountered much before. 2 men amongst 2 million, could be any of them. And somehow gradually beginning to lean in and find out about them and care about them. And for whatever heroism that they happen to demonstrate, for it to feel like accidental heroism, the heroism that you or I might be capable of if put in those circumstances. And so it's about the human experience of war rather than about, you know, it's not a history lesson, you know. And you, by the way, need to know nothing about the First World War to watch this film. But at the end, I hope you know and feel a lot more about it than you did before.
It's character.
Yeah.
It's character. At the end of the day, you know, you're people, everyone who sits down, all the audience are human beings, and so you want to look at the person on screen and you want to see either yourself or someone you love. You want to see your son or your husband or your father in this case. And in fact, you know, there's parts of us in this movie as well. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's it. At the end of the day, if you can write someone that the audience love, hopefully they'll stay in their seats.
Now, you guys were troopers in this movie because watching all the obstacles that y'all went through, I'm pretty sure I would die in like the first 5 minutes. If you yourselves were in your character's position today, how well do you think you'd survive that? Would you?
The thing is, I think it's hard to say. It's like saying, you know, if this room was on fire,
Yeah.
you know, I'd save you, I'd do this, I'd come back with a fire extinguisher and I'd put out the fire. You know, you never know until you, but, you know, I mean, I think that I'd probably be, you know, a bundle of nerves and crying, and I don't think I'd be as brave as Blake, you know.
I don't know. I reckon you'd do all right.
I don't know, mate, I don't know.
You think you'd handle it? Yeah,
I think
you'd handle it?
no, I definitely. I'd put Dean on my back. I'd be out of here. I'd save a kitten. I don't know. I don't know. No, I'd probably be the same. You don't know till you get there, do you?
I know that this film was inspired by stories that your grandfather had told you. I was wondering, is there any, if your kids were one day to want to make a film based on a story you've told them, is there, what story do you think that would be?
Okay, you get the gold star today for asking me a question I've never heard before. Wow. You know, I've had no idea, because you never know how your own children perceive you. Yeah. Until they get to be teenagers, and then they start revealing exactly what they think, which is just beginning for me now. I think they probably would want to know about my experiences in show business. I mean, I think that ultimately, you know, that they occasionally ask, you know, so when was American Beauty? How old were you?
Yeah.
What went on there? You know, that's kind of weird, isn't it? That you won the Oscar for your first movie, and I'm like, yeah, it was pretty weird.
Yeah.
So yeah, but whether they would want to make a movie about it, I doubt very much.
I don't know. That I'd be watching that one because that's a huge accomplishment. Your first picture, you get Best Director and Best Picture. Like, I mean, I'd like to see what went on behind the scenes.
Yes,
what
yes.
stories you have about that.
There's a few good stories, that's true. There are a few good stories. You know, one of the things I remember, and I feel that way about this year a little bit, is it was a great year for movies.
Yeah.
You know, that it wasn't just American Beauty, it was Magnolia and Three Kings and Fight Club and Being John Malkovich and The Insider and Sixth Sense. And I mean, it was just like one after the other. And a lot of my heroes made films that year, from, you know, Altman to Scorsese and David Lynch. So it did feel weird to be, you know, being fated and awarded these things when, you know, all these giants and heroes were around me. So that was a strange experience.
Oh yeah, I mean, well, actually, I too come from a really wonderful family. Different. My grandfather never served in the war, but there's plenty of stories about my family that I think are pretty special. And in a way, actually, all your sort of life experiences filter into things. I mean, there's section in this movie that are, I mean, so personal to me. The cherry blossoms are my grandmother in a way. And so there, I guess as a writer, you're always sort of slowly layering things in, but maybe just not as directly as we've done with Sam's grandfather in 1917.
Another thing I realized with this film, I know we're following George and Dean's characters throughout the whole thing, but I was wondering if you had decided to maybe, they meet a lot of great characters along the way. So people like Benedict Cumberbatch and Mark Strong, just to name a few, but if you had decided to kind of switch perspectives after they met one of these characters, which character would you like to have shot and just gone on their journey?
Another thumbs up. 2 gold stars. There's 2 questions I've never been asked before. Mark Strong's character, because he is also on a journey that happens to intersect. The others are all static, and you know, to a large degree, the First World War is a war of paralysis. And the difficulty in telling any story about the First World War is finding a way to break out of that static nature of the war. People were stuck in trenches and in no man's land. Hundreds of thousands of men lost their lives in a very tiny amount of land. The challenge is to create a journey. And the only other character in the movie on a journey is Mark, who's traveling with hundreds of men up to another part of the new line, and has obviously been through hell already when you meet him, and is about to go through another set of hell. And because of all those characters that he takes with him, some of them will survive and some won't. So to me, that's a kind of interesting story that you could tell.
Ooh, I wonder if it's a spoiler. I'm trying to think. The person that they meet in the French town. In the basement.
Yes.
Is a story I'd like to tell, partly because those stories are very rarely told.
Yes, and that's who I would pick too, actually, because that's what
great.
I was thinking. Because that's a person that I was like, I would love to know what happened to
exactly
to
how
them.
you got there and where you're going to go. Yep, no, absolutely. Okay, great.
Yeah,
we'll pitch it to Sam when you're in the next room.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I know we focus on y'all the whole time, but if the film decided to switch perspectives and follow a character that you guys met, which character would you have liked to see the rest of their story?
That's quite a good question.
It's good, yeah. I think that it would be quite kind of cool because it's, as you say, it's just the only thing that's sort of special about their journey is that the camera happens to be on it. So almost to do many different films and have them all interconnect at the point with which we all meet each other.
Yeah.
I think Andrew Scott's character is really interesting. I think he's so many things all at once, and that way that's sort of it's true of how it was in the trenches. That of it's only 300 yards before they're told, our characters are told the Germans are gone, and we get to Andrew Scott and he's going, no, they killed two officers yesterday. So I think that kind of confusion to be in his world, which although it's only not even half a mile away from where we begin, it is completely different. And just the fact that he's funny, but he's sad. He's cynical, but he's just knackered. There's so much going on with that lieutenant that Andrew Scott plays. I'd like to see him.
I'd like to see the boys on the truck.
Yeah.
To see where they went. They're on
Yeah.
a journey. You know? Yeah. See what they were doing before and what they did after.
If you don't get there in time, we will lose 1,600 men. Your brother among them. Good luck.